up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Leveling Up with JCwithTHEshot, and we are on episode 10, level 10. Let's go. Super excited to be back once again this week. I think this is a pretty cool episode. It's a little bit different than what I've done in the previous 9 episodes, but I think there's a lot to talk about with this and what it looks like moving forward. And so the biggest topic that I want to really focus on here is the next gen. You know, we are coming to the end of July, which means that pre-orders are right around the corner for our next gen consoles. So our PlayStation 5 and our Xbox Series X. Nintendo does not seem like they're going to be participating in this next gen battle quite yet, right? Like, they are putting so much focus on the Switch. They continue to put focus on the Switch as part of this current gen's focal point on gaming. They came out with the Switch Lite. They're still dropping, new games all the time for the Switch. So at this current moment, we can only assume that Nintendo's not currently in the race in this next gen. Not that I think that they've ever really been in the race. Like, Nintendo's great, but I think for hardcore gamers, they're not going to fall back to Nintendo. And people can prove me wrong with that, but that's just kind of my own opinion. And so really the focal point of this week's episode is getting down to the nitty-gritty of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and what we know so far, what I hope to expect moving forward, and what I think is going to be the biggest seller. So before we even get into that and kind of where we're at currently, I want to backtrack and talk about the current gen, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Xbox One X. I guess in all those variations, I guess there's like the Xbox One S as well, and then the Switch. So when the PS4 came out, the Xbox One also came out. Switch came out a little bit afterward. But it's always been a Microsoft versus Sony battle. It always has been, and it will continue to be that way. These are two companies that are vying for the best product, the best system, all of that, right? Like, everybody's going to continue to compare the specs for Sony versus Microsoft, because that's the way that it's been. And until something else comes across, right, it's going to continue to be those two powerhouse companies. And obviously, we're getting to the point in gaming where they're starting to compare PC gaming with console gaming, right? And I'm gonna jump into that here shortly when we talk about the Xbox Series X and everything that's being said about that. But with the current gen, we have seen for years the competition that comes with that. At this current moment, PS4 sales are higher than the Xbox One and the Switch combined. The Switch has actually sold more units than the Xbox One has, which to me I think is crazy. But I think Nintendo will always have a population to cater to. You think about Mario Kart, you think about Super Mario Odyssey, you think about Animal Crossings. Like, these are staple games that Nintendo continues to provide, and people will continue to purchase these games. I mean, even Pokemon, right? Can't play these on any other system. So people are always going to buy Nintendo, no matter what the system is. And then you have your individuals who have purchased Xbox and continue to stay with Xbox because of exclusives that they have, right? So they have Halo, Gears of War, and then you have people who buy the PlayStation products to continue to play those exclusives. So MLB The Show, obviously not a huge title, but it's a PlayStation exclusive. The Last of Us. Oh man, Spider-Man. Like there are so many exclusives, and that's only a few, but like there are a lot of exclusives to all three platforms, right? And so we've seen that growth with the systems and exclusives and deals that they are making, which is going to make this next gen very, very interesting, in my opinion. And as of right now, we know that the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are coming out holiday 2020. So both companies have come out and said that COVID has not delayed these systems. Their plan moving forward is to still go out and sell these products holiday 2020. We don't have any official dates of what that looks like yet, but we can assume it'll be sometime around Thanksgiving. That is a typical drop point for consoles and has been for consoles in the past. People are more likely to go out or spend money around Black Friday to prepare for Christmas. Anything after Thanksgiving and as we start getting into December, that's where it gets a little bit sketchy, in my opinion, of trying to sell consoles or sell any type of product that close to the Christmas holiday. But we'll see. Like I said, we don't have any announcement yet of what those dates are. We should hopefully have something here in the next month or so. As I said to open this video, we are right around the time that pre-orders are going to start going online for these systems, which is exciting. I currently own a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One X. I plan on purchasing both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. That is my thought process currently. But that could very quickly change, and I will explain why here in a little bit. So I want to jump ahead or go into what is it that we know about this next gen of consoles, right? We've seen what both systems look like. We have some details, and I'm not going to spend this video going into specs. But I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been rumored and some of the things that both companies have come out and kind of said about them. And so we know what the PlayStation 5 looks like. That was the last system for us to be able to see. Xbox and Microsoft came out with their system design before Sony did with the PlayStation 5. With the PlayStation 5, we do know we'll have two different forms of the system available. One being a digital edition, so no disk drive on the system, but it does allow you to download everything digitally, and we can only speculate, and as of right now, it's almost been 100% confirmed that this system will actually cost less than the system with the disk drive, which is really interesting. And I think for those that prefer to download their games or have the internet capability to do so, will most likely go with the cheaper version of this console. As far as the amount of space on the hard drive for both of those systems, to our knowledge, they are the same size. So just under 1 terabyte of space. What's been released is right around 825 gigs to our knowledge. So that seems pretty congruent with everything that's being shared widely about the system for PlayStation 5. We have seen the new controller, the DualSense controller, which looks very similar to the current gen, and PlayStation continues to stick with their design of what the controller looks like. I mean, if it works, it works, and you're going to continue to use what that is and what people have fallen in love with. So that's a little bit about the PlayStation 5. Again, we don't have a confirmed price on that, but people are assuming that it's going to be right around $500 based on leaks across the internet that have come across. So, and it's going to be backward compatible as well. So we know that much. Now, the Xbox Series X, we know it looks very similar to a computer tower, if you will. So it's a bigger box size system that will have a disk drive in it, but people are saying that it will run very similarly to a computer, and it will focus on the higher CPU power of the system to run its games and its engines. Microsoft has moved away from what they did with this current generation of providing a home entertainment system. That was their big sell with the Xbox One, and they are moving it and shifting it back to focusing on gaming, which is super awesome and admirable. I mean, that's what the system is for, right? That's why people are buying it. Granted, I use mine for Netflix and Hulu and that stuff in my living room. I haven't played games on it in like a year. So that being said, we also know that the controller design is on par with what they've done in the past. It is going to be a very powerful system, and at this point in time, people are starting to move away more from the specs of the systems and purchasing them based on the specs that they house to the games that they can play on that system, which is a big part of what I want to kind of talk about in this episode, because I think that things can change very, very quickly in our world of gaming. And so I'm gonna talk about PlayStation first. So as of right now, PlayStation, in my opinion, has the lead in exclusives. They just overall have better exclusives than Microsoft does at this moment. That can change, and I'll get into that here in a second. As of right now, we already have information that The Last of Us 2 will be able to be ported into the PlayStation 5. So an already beautiful looking game is going to get even better on this new more powerful system. Now, if you have a PS4 Pro already, you know what the PlayStation 4 Pro is capable of doing, and how that it's more powerful than the normal PlayStation 4. PS5 is going to take that up another notch, which I am super excited for because it is a beautiful game. Ghost of Tsushima, which just came out last Friday, is something that I've been playing all week. Probably one of the most beautiful games I've ever played on the PlayStation, will also be going to PlayStation 5, which is crazy. So these are two exclusives already from this current gen that we know are being ported. That's not even the games that we know about that are coming to PlayStation 5, either on launch or within the next year. Cyberpunk 2077, we know is going to be a game for all systems, but we also know that it's going to look beautiful regardless. So I'm not going to include that in this conversation, because that is going to be on current gen and next gen as well. So these companies are really focusing on people being able to play these games on the current gen and also on the next gen. One of the biggest exclusives that we've seen that is going to be released either on launch or close to launch for the PlayStation 5 is Spider-Man Miles Morales, which Spider-Man by Insomniac Games that was on the PlayStation 4 is also arguably one of the best looking games that's been on the PlayStation 4 with a phenomenal storyline. And when this came out, that a new game specifically made for the PlayStation 5 is going to be released, like, fans were going crazy because an already beautiful game, an already phenomenal storyline. You take a character that is not often talked about in Marvel gaming specifically. I don't want to say Marvel at all, but in Miles Morales, was teased throughout the Spider-Man game for the PlayStation 4. We're getting a sequel, and this is huge for Sony with this game because this is going to sell a lot of systems, in my opinion, because of the opportunity that Sony has with this. They've talked about seamlessly transitioning through the city, through missions, through storyline, with very to little loading screens, if any. And that's crazy because if you have seen the development of games throughout your time, you know that there have always been loading screens between missions. And, you know, up until recently, like, I even think of games like Grand Theft Auto currently that still have loading screens in between missions or going into buildings. This is going to be seamless on these next gen consoles. We are going to see less and less loading screens in everything that we do, which just maximizes the gaming opportunities for it. So PlayStation has The Last of Us. We can only expect that there's going to be a Last of Us 3. Spider-Man Miles Morales, which we know is coming out already as a PlayStation 5 drop. I already talked about MLB The Show. And then Ghost of Tsushima, among many of other games that Sony has the rights to currently, that they'll continue to port over and play with. Now, just yesterday, Microsoft came out with their game showcase for Halo Infinite and other games that are dropping for the Xbox Series X. And this was our first look at Halo Infinite, and for me, I've talked about this on the podcast, that Halo has been one of those games that I've grown up playing. It got me into multiplayer. I have some of my best memories playing Halo in middle school and in high school and even in college. Some of my best memories are playing Halo. So obviously I was super excited, and that is one of the reasons that I wanted to buy an Xbox Series X. Is because I knew that Halo Infinite was dropping. So in the showcase yesterday, this was the first game that they showcased. And it looks beautiful. It does. But it looks like, and it should, and I don't say this for this to be a bad thing, but it feels like another Halo game. And I don't know, in my opinion, I've been trying to process if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There are a few things that have changed with Halo Infinite, and you know, they only showcase the campaign, which I think is Microsoft's biggest downfall and 343 Industries' biggest downfall in showing this game yesterday. Because more often than not, people are playing Halo for the multiplayer, and that is what people fell in love with Halo to begin with. And I've talked about Halo 2 being one of my favorite campaigns ever, and I love the Halo campaigns. Being able to go back and play with Master Chief is going to be a lot of fun. They brought in an open world aspect into Halo, which is interesting. Most of the Halo storylines have been linear. Not saying that this won't be linear, but you're going to be able to pick and choose what you start with and how you approach those things. We also saw new guns and we saw new tech that Master Chief gets to use, but we didn't see multiplayer. We didn't see if 343 is coming out with a battle royale, which is obviously huge in today's gaming and appeals to a huge audience. We didn't see any of that. We saw a campaign, which looks beautiful. But they could have done so much more. And so after watching that, I wasn't super excited about what's to come. Microsoft also followed up with, in my opinion, a lot of lackluster games that are going to be dropped on the Xbox Series X. We saw Psychonauts 2, which is great. Psychonauts is a phenomenal series and a phenomenal game. Glad that the second one's finally coming out. We saw a couple other indie titles, but nothing that was like, okay, I need to get this system. Like, even watching it live on YouTube and looking at the chat, like, so many people were disappointed. They were putting L's in the chat because they know that unless Microsoft does something drastic, they're not going to win this next gen battle. And that's what it's always been. What is the better system? And frankly, I agree with those individuals. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But as of right now, Xbox does not have the leg up in this series, right? Like, they talked about Gears of War 5 also coming to Xbox Series X, and I think one of the biggest draws, in my opinion, in their whole presentation, and they've already announced this, but they talked about it a little bit more, is their Game Pass and their ability to be able to sign up for this subscription and be able to play every game, which is cool. Like, I think that's really cool because it gives a lot of opportunity for indie games who typically wouldn't get the day of light by a lot of gamers. But if people have access to that, they'll be able to jump into those games and play that. Like, I think that is a super cool idea, and they talked about how it can be related to Netflix, in a sense of, you can stream all these games for one price, which changes the gaming industry, in my opinion. And that's super awesome. But I want to go back to the point of people are buying consoles for the games that they provide. And as of right now, Xbox is only providing one new exclusive that's huge, and that's Halo Infinite. That, in my opinion, until I see multiplayer and until I see what else they've added, I'm not super excited for, which is really unfortunate because I love Halo. And I'd love to go back to that franchise. But you can also play that on PC. And it honestly will probably run and look better on your PC than it will on the Xbox Series X. And so there's one rumor that is out there that I think could completely shift this war and will forever upset the balance of what's happening. So DC fandom is taking place on August 22nd. And if you are unfamiliar with what that is, essentially it's similar to a Comic-Con that DC is holding, but they are announcing 2 brand new games that are coming out in the DC series. And these 2 games, through speculation and leaks, are a Suicide Squad game, which is going to focus on Suicide Squad trying to kill the Justice League, and then a Gotham Knights game, which people are assuming that it is a sequel to either Arkham Origin or Arkham Knight. And so the reason that I bring these up is because these games have been made by and are in the process of being made. We don't know where the progress is. We can assume there's rumors that one of them is coming out this year. But they were being made by WB Montreal and Rocksteady. And these are the 2 games that have worked on the Batman Arkham series in the past and have provided a phenomenal, words are hard right now, series of gaming. And so this is huge because we get this announcement in less than a month for these games. The kicker with this is there are rumors that Microsoft is looking to purchase WB Montreal, which actually owns Rocksteady. And so if Microsoft purchases this company, Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights now becomes Xbox exclusives, which completely changes the game industry, right? And in my opinion, it is a very smart idea for Microsoft to do this, because this will give them an almost equal seat at the table with PlayStation and exclusives, especially with Spider-Man Miles Morales coming out. Marvel's Avengers will be on both systems, but Microsoft has a great opportunity to steal the show with buying out this company, or buying this company, and therefore making Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights Xbox exclusives, which would be crazy, because then it becomes, all right, which franchise are you going to stick with? Are you going to stick with Marvel? Or are you going to stick with DC? Or are you going to buy each system so you can play each set? And that's where the struggle becomes with gaming today, and system and company exclusives. And we're never going to get past that, in my opinion, but that's what focuses people to select one or the other, because most people aren't going to buy each system. The casual gamer is not going to buy both systems. They might, but more often than not, they're going to select one that they think is going to provide the better gaming experience through the games that they offer. And so this one transaction could change the landscape for years to come. And so we have in the next couple of months, be on the lookout for that. We could hear something in the next month at DC Fandom, and I'm going to talk about DC Fandom with Frank on another episode once it's over, so we can talk about everything that took place and where we think these games are going and our kind of hopes. But it's going to be huge, and I'm really excited to see what happens. I plan on, like I said at the beginning, on buying a PlayStation 5. I'm torn between if I want to get the Xbox Series X, but since I already own both systems, I most likely will, because you obviously never know what's going to come out later on either, and that's another big thing to think about when you're purchasing a system. But my biggest hopes moving forward is that we are getting exactly, if not better, than what they're telling us. Like, I want a system that's going to be able to blow my mind, and when I'm playing a game, immerse me into that atmosphere. Last of Us 2 did such a great job doing that. Probably the best game that has ever immersed me as much as I was immersed in that game. And so I'm curious to see what happens next. I think both systems are going to be crazy good. The games are going to look so great on them. You're going to be able to play movies at higher quality than you have before. But if you don't have a TV that's capable of 4K, you're not going to be able to see the difference. And I know that there are 8K TVs now, and there's already talks about what that looks like in gaming, which is crazy. Like, it just continues to evolve. But these systems are going to change gaming. They truly are. And even games like Fortnite, which have been out for going on 3 years. It's literally 3 years and 2 days, on the 25th. And that's going to be brought over with a brand new engine to the new systems. And so that's going to look different and feel different and play different. And so we have these conversations every time the next gen comes out. Which one's going to top the other? Which one's going to do better in sales? If we're going off sales on the current gen, PlayStation's going to take this away. But if Microsoft purchases WB Montreal and Rocksteady, that is going to very, very quickly change. And that's kind of where I feel like we're at. I'm excited to see what happens next. I hope you all are excited to see what happens next. I want to continue to talk about next gen and future podcasts. But I also think that whatever we hear in the next couple of months is going to get people excited. I can't wait to see what's next. I will be purchasing, like I said, the PlayStation 5 for sure. Let me know down below which one you think you're gonna purchase. Let me know what you thought about the Halo Infinite trailer if you watched it, as well as the rest of their game show presentation. I'm really curious to see what other people think, because I think there's a lot involved in these decisions, and hopefully you all get something from this. And so, if you found this helpful, if you want to continue to have this conversation, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. It really helps a lot. I'm also trying to get to 100 subs over on Twitch, which you can find me at twitch.tv/JCwithTHEshot. Next week we will be back with a brand new guest to the show, which I'm super excited for, to kind of talk about their experience with gaming and where that's taken them today. So as always, stay safe. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching the end of the whole video. Like I said, words are hard, and we will see you next week. So take care, and happy Friday.